Since you were working in both the competitive engineering and sales, how do you feel the difference between, are they very two different peoples, or because one point in my career, I work at a small startup within a company, and the sales team sits on one side of the office, the engineering team sits the other end of the office, and they almost never overlap, and we don't talk to each other. We just know that the salespeople are really loud, right? So, and you want to be quiet, right? Don't want to be interrupted. So you've seen and work very closely with both engineering and sales. How do you see the difference, and what you can learn or you learned on the sales side that you believe can be helpful for engineering leaders?
Wow, yeah, it's a great question. And Jerry, I think you kind of talked to it. There is a pretty significant cultural difference that I noticed going from engineering to sales and now coming back from sales to engineering. There are visible differences, to your point, like separate sides of the building or, of the campus. Different cars. That was something I immediately noticed. I'll tell you, like one time I got one of my jobs. I was a business development manager at one time at NetApp, and I spent 2 years at NetApp in between, two stints at Cisco. And the first thing I noticed is that the minute you walk into the sales parking lot, or you drive into the sales parking lot at NetApp, it's like Beamer, Benz, Lexus, Audi, like fancy, fancy, fancy. And I drove in with my beat up Honda Accord. And then literally the next week I bought a Lexus SUV because I was like, I just don't want to have this complex. But, in engineering, it's like your car is not the way you build trust. It's like a silly example, but it's like such a stark difference actually. So I challenge everyone to like take a look at like the sales parking lot and the engineering parking lot, just to like notice, like, is there a difference? Is it not? Because maybe there's more alignment, maybe there's less. The other is from a visible perspective, even just like wardrobe, because if you're customer facing, what you don't want to do is have any aspect of your appearance influence your outcome, which typically for a salesperson is a sale, or it's like more than anything, it is gaining trust with your customer. When I went from engineering to sales, I mean, I had the ripped jeans and I just had the flip flops at work every day and, stuff like that. I probably shouldn't be doing that anyway, to be honest, but like, that's just kind of how it was. And then when I went to sales, I was like, all right, I have to clean this situation up here. So I like got some collared shirts, some non-torn jeans, some closed-toed shoes, and then I was able to start building technical, or rather trust with the customer. In contrast, now that I'm back in engineering, it's like my very buttoned up wardrobe that I had for sales is completely useless here in engineering. This is a way to actually, like, I've realized, like, this is kind of a visual way as a leader, especially, where that could impact my credibility. And so one of the first things that I did in the first month of my job last year is like, all right, let me go on Amazon. Let me just buy a whole bunch of t-shirts, move on with my life. Let me just solve this problem really quick. And it works. It worked out well. Then there is the cultural nuance. I mean, Jerry, you mentioned kind of like the volume factor. Sales is an emotional role. It is because you are constantly in the job of listening, of connecting, of trusting, gaining trust, empathizing, building that relationship, and differentiating your products from your competitors by way of a relationship, in addition to technical capabilities and awesomeness, And as a result, there's more energy that goes into showing up as who you are. And so I remember my first sales meeting. I walked in, and it was really just like a commit call where everyone's going around the room talking about what they're going to deliver for the week, what sale they're going to deliver. And there's so much applauding. It was crazy. It was like, it was so loud. And I kept thinking, like, is this the State of the Union? Like, why is everyone clapping all the time? Why is everyone like so overly, interested, And then, because right before then, like a week before I joined that job, it was like the only way to communicate with my colleague who literally sat in the cube next to me was to email him, because it wasn't comfortable, or it was too loud, or it was too in your face to actually go to his cube and be like, hey, can we talk for a second? So yeah, that was like super different. Then I would just say there are more similarities than less, actually. And as a leader, ultimately it comes down to making sure, whether you're an engineering leader or a sales leader and you've gone one way or the other, like making sure you empathize with what someone is trying to solve for and aligning. And, my point of view on leadership is like, it's servant leadership. It's like, how can I actually help you get to where you need to go? Ultimately, that'll help me in where I need to go too. But like, let me just listen. Let me just seek to understand. And that seeking to understand is just common all over the place. That's just leadership. So that's where kind of I sit now, is I'm able to leverage my sales skill set and just kind of ask interesting questions. The goal of sales is to never ask a binary question. Like, do you like this product? Yes or no? That's not the right question. How do you feel this product could potentially solve your issues? I have some ideas, but I'd love to hear from you, Madam Customer. And kind of asking those open-ended questions to seek to understand, to kind of expand the opportunity of working together, that fits right into engineering just fine.